So, with national qualifiers for badminton just around the corner and matches against other team members happening within a week's time, it looks like Taiki might have to beat the third place player Haru in more ways than one. But first and foremost, this chapter does a brilliant job in building up Hina's character, showcasing her skills as a rhythm gymnastics, and more importantly conveying just how much pressure is being placed upon her character. After all, we see just how much her teacher values her within this chapter. Plus, we have mention of her family's past in how her father used to be a representative in the Japanese gymnastics team. So we can imagine from that one line that the pressure to perform well from her family is weighing heavily on her conscience and on her shoulders. And speaking of weighing heavily, I love the fact that she's so cautious about her calorie intake. But this little bit of information also plays into not only the pressure for her to perform well and to stay in shape, but also her personality, as we learn the fact she's not that good in putting effort into something. However, she does believe in if the means justify the ends, she's willing to endure anything to achieve what she has to set out to do. Overall, I've gained a lot more fondness towards Hina's character, because before this chapter, we kind of just knew her as this lively, bubbly character that would be a good source of comedic relief. However, after reading this particular chapter, chapter number 4, I found myself taking her a bit more seriously and kind of wanting to see her develop further. Still though, she's not the best girl within this series. That title is still held by Chinasu. Speaking of which, what is up with her walking home with Haru? Now, before anyone starts to panic, I do not think this encounter between the two is romantic from Chinasu's perspective. As she's previously stated in the past few chapters, however, I think it was in chapter 3, her intentions are solely on basketball and her team. So the idea of her dating someone just hasn't crossed her mind and won't really until she's achieved her dream of going to nationals. Possibly from Haru's perspective, he does want something romantic from Chinasu. That is a possibility. Which, if this is the case, it could create a rivalry between himself and Taiki, adding more pressure, more higher stakes when the two finally face each other on the badminton court. Now, I would like the series to go in this type of direction, as it would allow Chinasu to stay true to her words spoken in chapter 3, and at the same time, it will give Taiki something more to push himself forward, to prove himself, as throughout this chapter, he's kind of not viewing himself in the best possible light when comparing himself to all of these great athletes that he knows so far. Now, another weird kind of idea from Haru's perspective could be that he just wants to know more about Taiki as a character and as a player. After all, he may have noticed Taiki's improvements in badminton during training. And the reason as to why he would be asking Chinasu of all people is because he's seen from little glimpses that the two of them seem to know each other. So maybe he's asking Chinasu for a bit more background history and information about Taiki to better understand his chances when facing Taiki in the future. So this idea I do also like because it can kind of add to other characters valuing Taiki as a threat in badminton, where he himself, like I previously stated, doesn't see himself as great as the other athletes that he's seen and knows about within the series, making Taiki a bit more of an underdog when going into the national qualifiers. Now, as a side note, it's still unconfirmed as to whether or not Hina has feelings towards Taiki. In fact, based off the panels given in this chapter, she definitely understands Taiki's feelings towards Chinasu and is willing to support his efforts in trying to wow her over and kind of follow his dreams and his love for Chinasu. So even if there is a glimmer of love towards Taiki from Hina's character, I like the fact she's being mature enough to kind of understand that at the moment she doesn't really have much of a chance. But maybe if she supports him and waits to see how things play out, there is still slight hope for her in the future. Now I am really grateful that there is no sign of a Taiki Hina Chanatsu love triangle in the works, as the ending of chapter 3 did kind of allude to that a little bit, and I know a lot of the fan base for the series were kind of worried that that was the direction the series is going to go in. But I'm glad to say, from the looks of this particular chapter, it does not look to be so. But to play devil's advocate on that, there is a small amount of affection towards Hina shown from Taiki's facial expressions. So there is still a little bit of hope for those who would potentially ship Taiki and Hina, if that is your preferred sort of pairing for the main protagonist and a female character within the series. So overall, this chapter was fantastic and was a great way for character building in building up Hina's character, giving me more reason to invest and get interested within the particular character. I love the fact that we have a bit more direction with the series, and we now know what Taiki's goals and aims are for the short-term future. Really love the artwork. From chapter 1, the artwork has been spectacular, and this chapter really does bring its A game once again. And like I said, the lively, bubbly and fun Hina was a fantastic addition, and I'm so glad that we learn more about her, and I hope we get more development from her character in the future, because again, this chapter did a great job for making me interested and liking the character more. But with all that said and done, I want to know what you think about this chapter in the comment section down below. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that like button, and of course subscribe for more content from myself. But above all else, I hope you have a wonderful day. Arigato, matane, goodbye.